with the Zone Control podcast. World's semifinals kind of edition. We're a bit late, but whatever. Yeah, pretty nice. Let's just jump into it. We're gonna start off with World's groups because that's where we left off last time.
Yeah. To follow it up, yeah, we can see that for the most part, predictions were correct. Flash Wolves underperformed. Genji massively underperformed.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's been pretty fairly standard in groups.
Well, I mean, prediction-wise, it was standard, but like,
Yes.
there,
Then you
from
start
what
to look at
actually
the
happened.
individual games. Then you look at the fact that Liquid took a game off of EDG, EDG took a game off of KT, Cloud9 forced a tiebreaker against RNG.
Yeah,
It all ended up a
Vitality
bit closer.
Vitality beat everybody in their group at least once. Wait, no, they
Yep.
went 0-2 against Cloud9. Never mind.
Yes, they went 0-2 against Cloud9 to drop out of groups. And the thing is, in week one, if they beat Cloud9, then it would have been like a three-way tie for first place.
No,
And because they would have been 1-1 with RNG, they would have been they would have been in a two-way tie for first place, and Cloud9 would have been out.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, might equals blown, might equals EU. I don't know.
So Vitality really did perform a lot better than expected, though. I think people can say Jizuke stepped up. Kikis was a really smart jungler pathing in the early game to really make the most of his advantages, and he took Caster out of the game quite prominently in one of the games against RNG. But it's in the end the issue was that they couldn't get a game off of C9. And Svenskeren was a huge part of that. Svenskeren has been an absolute monster this entire tournament. Svenskeren bodied quarterfinals, he bodied groups, and I mean, who needs Body by Jensen when you've got Body by Svenskeren, the real man?
I had to make a Body by Jensen video, but honestly, the guy has like 7 highlight plays all tournament. It was rough. Meanwhile,
and then you look at
Svenskeren has like 7 every game.
Yeah. When you get to play Lee Sin, you get to make a few highlights. And speaking of Lee Sin, though, Broxah in Group D, another really big early game jungler, and that's been the story of, well, the strongest teams in general has been how good is their jungler in the early game.
Well,
Ning, you can look at Broxah, you can look at Svenskeren, you could look at Kikis.
But it
was all about, and even Spirit when he came in for Afrika really turned it around for them.
But it's really only like the late early game, in my opinion. Like the 1 through 6 is kind of fallen out of favor in terms of trying to build a lead there.
I'd say it's closer to like level 4, 5 rather than literally 1 to 3. But it's generally the pathing that takes the opposing jungler out of the game more to the point, rather than just I solo killed him in his on his Raptors, and then it's more like I was able to outpath him and therefore got a 3-camp advantage.
Yeah.
Because I was able to play better around the scuttles with my laners, and the junglers making plays like that to get themselves an advantage coming into the level 6 where they utilize that advantage. So that really shone through for, the junglers of Group D, which was Ning and Broxah, Svenskeren and Kikis, arguably you could say Kasa / MLXG as well. There's a reason they're starting MLXG now. Early game junglers are so crucial.
Well,
and Yanko's stepping up a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah,
Jankos has looked a lot better out of groups. In groups, he's still shaky.
Yeah, Jankos looks kind of again like he did at the end of spring, where he was actually getting the early leads against Fnatic, but it just didn't quite work out for them because Fnatic was really that good at like stabilizing the game at 30 minutes and just running it down. Then,
yeah, that was very much the time where it was just reckless making pentakill plays. I think he got an unofficial penta and a penta in back-to-back games in the finals of spring. So that kind of shows you the level of like late game that it was based around then, and the fact that the early game didn't matter. So if Jankos can play to the level of early game that he had at that tournament in the spring, then I do expect them to be able to challenge IG, as Ning's been a massive threat, but then you see the most interesting lane, and you think about where are they impacting, and it's mid lane. Think about some of the mid lane matchups we got to see thus far. Rookie versus Caps in groups was disappointing, to be fair.
Yeah, because Caps kind of, I mean, Rookie versus Cavs week 1 was disappointing. I think in week 2 it was at least interesting.
Yeah, but like when we got to see UCall versus Rookie, at least we got to see Rookie ascend to his true form. That wasn't IG just playing scrappy, in your face, aggressive style consistently with Rookie, as he had to do previously on picks like the Rise. It was him like getting a 70 CS lead on Galio and just being a massive control threat and constantly denying engages from the opposing side. And Rookie has proven himself to me to be the best player at this tournament by a fucking mile.
At the same time, though, getting a 70 CS lead on Galio, I'm actually not that fond of it, because it kind of tells me that he actually took CS that he doesn't need.
It was a 70 CS lead on his opposing mid laner, who he just pressured out effectively enough, is the way I saw it. Because he's been so good in lane at denying CS, gaining as much as possible. There was one game, I think, where he was down in CS, and it was because he was roaming consistently. But he was a monster in all of those games, and we sat myself and some of the NCSU players sat in a call, and we just watched Rookie the entire game. Like, this guy is an absolute god. How is he this good? How can somebody be this good at the game? And it's the first time I've really felt that way since really looking at somebody like Faker.
I mean, there have been other people, like, how is Kakao like that dominant in LCK 2014 or something?
Yeah, but like, think even 2015 Faker was as dominant as, like, I think the Faker we're seeing, like, this is 2015 Faker that I'd compare to Rookie right now, and he's probably matching that. 2013 Faker, I don't think anybody will ever match what he was able to do at Worlds.
I mean, not just at Worlds, but everywhere. Like, ever since I mean, to be fair,
because even though they went like, what was it, 9-9 was their record in the split, so I don't think it's fair to say like he dominated the league. They barely made it out of that league alive, and then made playoffs to run through the gauntlet.
Actually,
the split that SKT won in season 3.
Yeah.
They qualified not as the first seed from Korea.
But there was no playoffs. That's the thing. They won LCK. It's just they only came in and some are like, to be fair, they were there in spring, but they weren't as good in spring because they didn't have the entire team together yet. And in summer they actually came up, and like, there is no LCK playoffs. It was still the tournament LCK, like OGN.
Yeah, I'm just going to pull up the stats, because I remember their record being very disappointing coming in, and they weren't the #1 seed, because the whole rule was there was only one time that the #1 seed from Korea ever won Worlds, and it wasn't that year.
Because they would have been first seed if we had the current rules.
They won the regional finals against KTB.
Yeah, but they also, like, they would have been the first seed if we weren't going by the rules now. Like, they won summer.
Yeah.
It's just they just weren't as good in spring. So Ozone got the Circuit Point first seed.
And then Frost and Blaze both didn't qualify.
Don't remind me of that.
KTB not qualifying was sad enough, but SK Telecom T1-2, the team with Faker, ended up winning it all, but let me check the regular split.
There's no regular split. There's at best
there's groups. There's groups. Yeah, there's groups. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they went 6-0 in groups, and their spring was disappointing.
There we go.
Yeah, it's
a team
that ramped. Yeah, it's a team that ramped up as the year went on. Faker started on a team that wasn't the best team in Korea.
Yeah, it's actually, like, thinking back at how dominant like they were in Korea and then at Worlds, KTB taking them to 5 games into the blind pick just adds that much more. But I guess we're not gonna see. I mean,
an individual display like that is not going to come anytime soon. I don't think, from a League of Legends player.
No, I was more thinking of, like, are we gonna see Insec anytime soon? No,
I still think that Rookie is matching what Faker was able to do in 2015, because Faker in 2015 was, again, it's the Rise pick as well as part of it. So it's interesting to see that. And I remember people saying, like, what would he pick as his world skin? And somebody said Rise. I was just like, no, you can't do that to Faker. Like, they literally made a video where Faker is Rise. You can't do this.
I mean, you could maybe, I don't even know at this point. I don't. I think it would be an insult if you gave him Galio.
Yeah, it's hard to give him Galio. Let me just look at what he's played at Worlds.
That's always like the thing is like, imagine you actually gave like a world champion AD carry Ashe. That's just an insult.
Yeah, it's like imagine being one of the best AD carries in the world in Season 5 Worlds, and then you ask for a Kalista skin and they try and give you Sivir. And then after a community uproar, they give you Kalista anyway.
Yeah. I mean, imagine having a world championship skin be Janna.
Oh god. To be fair, Janna was very relevant.
Who actually was that? I forgot because it wasn't Yellow Star.
Lamia Zealot was the ADC, wasn't he?
I thought it was the mid laner. I think
the mid laner was Shushay was mid,
and it was
because I only remember that Speke was the Karthus top.
Yeah.
Shushay was the Gragas mid.
Yeah.
Lamia Zealot, I think, was the Corki. And that means that Cyanide was the Jarvan. Whoever's left that I can't remember is the Janna. And that kind of tells you what happens when you get given a Janna skin for Worlds. You're the only player in your team that doesn't get remembered.
Yeah.
And then Season 2 was like... Season 2 was when Yellow Star joined Fnatic. He was still on Against All Authority as the AD carry at the time.
He actually was the AD carry in Season 2 until Reckless joined, yeah.
Which is Season 3... No, late Season 2.
Yeah. Before it was, I think... Wasn't it? Yellow Star and... Enrated?
Was it... Yeah, it's Enrated or Candy Panda, and I forget which.
No, Yellow Star was the AD carry.
Right. Oh, so it's Enrated. Yeah, it's Enrated.
Yeah.
Yellow Star AD carry and rated support. Yeah.
And then they found Reckless and
and good. Yellow Star moved to support. They had Puju for a split, and then they moved Reckless into AD carry.
Yeah, because they couldn't before because it was 17.
Yeah, they had him at IPL 5 still.
Yeah, and that was
so late. That's why we said late Season 2. Okay. Yeah.
So let's actually get back to the present.
So yeah, I was looking at the champions that rookies played, and there was so it's like LeBlanc. He's played a couple games of Lissandra. LeBlanc and Lissandra, honestly, either of those would be nice.
Yeah, I think LeBlanc would be cool.
I think,
especially having like a black and white LeBlanc. I think that would be cool.
But think about this as well, though. There's like a LeBlanc skin for somebody that isn't Faker.
Yeah, but
it's so sad.
I don't know. I don't think you can always think of.
I mean,
like that.
He needs to pull out RE 3 games in the final to fully spit in Faker's face.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as like saying, okay, we can't give a Nocturne skin to anybody that isn't Cacao. That's just not true.
Yeah, that's not true. But with Faker, it's like
it's
hard
Rise,
to give.
But
you can't give him Rise.
But you can't give him. You can't say you can't give him Rise, Zed.
Yeah, Rise is off the board, Zed's off the board, LeBlanc's off the board, Orianna, Ari.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it's just like I think it would be weird to see somebody get a LeBlanc skin that isn't Faker. But you think about all the world skins that there have been for mid laners, like Gragas mid. Yeah, Shushay was the original Gragas mid.
Yeah.
Season 2, like Orianna going to Toys. Yeah, his Orianna was the best in the world. There was no doubt. Season 3, Faker's Zed. Season 4, the Talon. That's something that Zed's that's something that Faker's never really been a prominent player of, regardless.
Because he wasn't good in Season 4.
Because he wasn't good in Season 4. That's the start. Season 5, Faker's Rise. Season 6, Faker's Syndra. Season 7, and it's the Talia mid. Yeah, and Faker was notably terrible at Talia mid. So it's all the mids that haven't been Faker have been champions that are very deserving of people who have gotten them. Yeah. Or Faker just doesn't play the champion.
I'll be honest though, like I still think Faker has like one of the biggest legacies. You can't just have it hang over like everything all the time. Like,
but it will forever.
Like, imagine if we actually have like if Uzi actually becomes the Faker of AD carry. Like AD carry already has like a really small pool. Imagine if it's like
carry's got the smallest pool.
Imagine if we actually get that, and it's like, okay, Uzi played a good Vayne, played a good okay, we're done with all the meta AD carries that will ever be.
Wait till we get the G2 Heimerdinger skin.
Okay, let's actually jump back a bit and talk about the semis a bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, let's talk about the quarters first.
Yeah, quarters. Sorry, I wanted to say that.
Yeah, so the let's go from top to bottom in terms of the brackets. So the first one was technically the last one. It's 3-0 Cloud9 over Afrika Freaks. Cloud9 showed up and they bopped them. Honestly, even though they gave up so many kills in the early game because Rookie got fed, or sorry, not Rookie, Kuro rather got fed on the Rise. It didn't matter because they were able to just play to their win conditions and play to the style that they needed to commit to. And Svenskeren made enough plays to mean that they didn't just fall apart in terms of a gold deficit in the early phases. So Cloud9 did really well, and I wouldn't say they out-macroed, they got out-macroed, but it didn't matter because the Korean game plan just doesn't work in this current meta.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes to show that, like, the only early leads that matter is if you can actually get, like, a champion that dominates lane snowballing, to actually get, like, a huge lead into the lane. Like, basically get a champion that already can gain a lead to actually generate a lead by himself without actually getting the kills.
It's like Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa doesn't matter unless she's got an item advantage over the AD carry that's opposing her. If she doesn't have an item advantage, then she's even to worse as an AD carry than anybody else that's meta right now. So that's Xayah, that's Sivir.
Yeah, until like 4 items or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Lucian is exactly the same. He needs to hit his 2-item spike before the enemy AD carry, otherwise he's not relevant until 4.
So yeah, I think that's kind of what you have to take away from that series. That's also why the Nocturne is like so good right now, because basically unless you get like a lane snowballing before level 6, Nocturne just brings so much power from level 6 onwards.
And it's going to be even worse now that he's just got the ability to power farm in his jungle, and the fact that towers aren't going to be going down until 15 minutes in the preseason, which we'll get on to later. It's going to get even worse. Power farming to 6 is going to be fun in the preseason. But Cloud9 impressed, and they're the first NA team to ever make a semi-final. Is this the best roster that NA's ever sent to Worlds? And I actually would say no to that. I think that the TSM roster that was sent, that went 3-3 in their group but got knocked out when Genji, the finals making Genji and the semi-finals making RNG, were both in their group.
Look, overall, like, if you look at the entire tournament so far, I would agree. Right now, Cloud9 is the best team NA has ever produced.
Results oriented, yes. I actually think that TSM roster was a better performing roster and looked like it had a higher ceiling than this one.
I mean, you can't really get that much better than 3-0ing Afrika.
What was it? Season 6 TSM is the one I'm referring to, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Because Season 5 was knocked out by Origin.
No,
Season 6 was they dropped a game.
You said World's winning Samsung.
World's winning. No. This is the finals making Samsung and the semi-finals making RNG.
Okay.
So this is that's the one that lost 3-2.
I don't think you can really say that.
Okay, that's a personal argument I make because
didn't they lose to Splice that season?
They dropped one game to Splice.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
To be fair, you look at the groups. Who did C9 drop a game to? Genji. Genji went 1-5.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying, like, in play-ins they're definitely not. In groups they're arguably not. But like right now, after those quarters and now going into semis, I think they're the best team that NA has ever produced.
It's I think the argument overall I'm making is the level of play of this world is much lower. So I think that a team that performed well in groups and showed up against the team that made finals and a team that made semis from NA, when those two teams were at their peak, I think that's better than what we're seeing from Cloud9 that's kind of capitalizing on everybody else flopping. And I've compared it to, we talked about the Premier League a little bit, I compared it to Leicester City. In the year that Leicester City won the Premiership, it was a year that Man City kind of fell apart. It was a year that Manchester United didn't know what they were doing in terms of managers. Chelsea didn't know what they were doing in terms of managers, and they ended up sacking the manager after the season. And then pretty much the only team to contest them the entire season was Tottenham, a team that also capitalized on the mistakes of others. So it's very much reminding me of that, where a bunch of teams are falling apart around them, and credit to them, they're performing well against the opponents that are there. But the level of play is just so much different from other years.
I don't I don't agree with that, honestly.
Okay.
I think we do have like pretty good teams for the worlds overall. I just think they're actually performing to a decent level. Um, how can I say this? Like, this is the first time for Cloud9 I actually don't think like for me Cloud9 in my head is always linked with disappointment because like every time they actually beat somebody at Worlds or MSI or wherever, it's you always have in your head like okay, yeah, that team had like a lot of potential but didn't prove it and lost to Cloud9. This is the first time I didn't think that was the case, especially in the Africa series. I think they legitimately out team fought, out rotated them in the late game, and closed the sack.
It's just hard for me to like look at the team that got 3-0'd by Team Liquid in finals and looked like an absolute mess, and the team that went to Game 5 against Gambit in play-ins as the best team NA has ever produced. I think it's not been consistent enough.
Okay,
and
you're
I understand that you're saying your argument is that they've ramped up much better and they look like the best team now. My argument is that they aren't consistent enough to be the best team because I value consistency over a longer period much more.
Yeah, like I think to balance out play-ins and like some of the group stages, they're gonna have to win Worlds to actually be like the best team at Worlds that NA has ever had.
So last year's Samsung that won Worlds actually had a very similar group stage result to Cloud9. So I think it's like the group stage isn't always indicative at all. We saw Gen G drop 2 games in their groups. I believe one of them was to G2.
And then they 3-0'd the Korean.
And then they 3-0'd SKT. Yeah.
No, they 3-0'd. I thought more about Longju, but.
Yeah, they 3-0'd Longju, 3-0'd SKT. Yeah. So this is like, it's very easy to look at this and go, this roster's not the best Worlds winning roster ever. But like the teams they beat, and they beat 3-0, they were convincing. They looked really solid in those games. And it's again like, I'm still gonna look back on that roster and say that's not the best Worlds winning roster ever, even though they 3-0'd in semis and finals, the two biggest opponents they could have done. Quarters and finals, the two biggest opponents they could have faced.
They 3-1 against WE, actually.
Yeah, WE was the other team that took a game.
Like that's an indicator to me that like this Worlds is actually on a higher level than last year.
Maybe than last year, but the year before, I wouldn't say so. I'd say Season 6 was a very good level.
That might be true. Anyway, next one. Let me think. What was the next one? Fnatic.
It's Fnatic versus EDG.
Yeah.
Game 1, EDG hard stomped.
Yeah.
And then Fnatic stomped 3 games right back in a very similar fashion to the way Cloud9 played. It's off of, again, early aggressive jungle plays. Reckless actually stomped lane pretty well. It wasn't like he got loads of kills, but he was always up in CS. He was consistently pushing iBoy down, and he didn't let EDG, who's been traditionally 2v2 killing people in the bot lane, pressure him out at all. He played a lot more like the Reckless we know, rather than the Reckless we've seen since MSI, and the Reckless that got bodied in lane by Uzi at MSI. There's no Uzi to mental block him left in the tournament. There's no big AD carries, I think, left to contest him.
I think EDG is always kind of iBoy dependent, where like, okay, Scout is the best player on the team, but I don't think he actually generates the leads you need to win, and especially not against mid lanes that could at least somewhat match them. But if you can get iBoy snowballing, he's like a great AD carry to have. Like come like 20 minutes if he has a lead, he can really close out games.
But he ints a lot.
Yeah, he does. But I think
he ints a lot.
But I think once he doesn't int, he doesn't int. You know, like if once he gets to a point where he's relatively strong and has gotten some place under his belt, he doesn't int anymore.
Okay, so he's a momentum-based player, is what you're saying. Right, okay, I can understand that. The thing that I would argue is that iBoy is on a stage right now where he's going to be forced to make many mistakes by his opponents. and they will be capitalized on, and he's going to feel more and more desperate to make those plays to give his team an advantage. And that's where teams have capitalized on his mistakes more. In the LPL, he didn't need to really make these desperation plays as often because Scout was enough from the mid lane.
I mean,
and
to be
Scout
fair,
this series
they
did do well against Caps. Caps also pretty much inted, but Caps generally transitioned well into those later stages where he stopped making mistakes. His mistakes were all in lane where he really wanted to prove that he was the better mid laner.
Yeah. Let's just say Iboy is the Huni of AD carry.
Yeah, he is. That's pretty fair. And then you've got like Caps in lane meme, followed up by Caps bodying team fights consistently.
Meme.
Like his Akali was really nice to watch in those later stages, but I mean, a lot of these game 5s came down to big LeBlanc performances. And like you can look across the series, and it was a big LeBlanc performance from Perks in the series against RNG. It was a big LeBlanc performance from Rookie. Jensen pulled out a couple of big LeBlanc performances as well. And then in this Fnatic series, it wasn't really as impressive from Caps. You gotta say, like, of all the mid laners to go through, he probably had the worst quarterfinals performance.
All right. Yeah, I think overall Fnatic was okay to go through.
Yeah.
I want to talk about C9 Fnatic right now, since we're already kind of on the topic. I don't know, they're kind of playing the same or a similar style. I think Caps has the potential to go over Jensen.
Yeah, I think Caps is the better mid laner than Jensen, but Caps wants to overforce to win the lane, and Scout's a superior mid laner to. Honestly, I put Scout as probably the third best mid laner at the tournament. It's kind of hovering. I'm probably going to do a mid lane tier list a little bit later on, but it's pretty much like Rookie at the top, Yukal probably second, then beyond that it's like Scout, Perks, Caps, Jensen. Oh, Jizuke Jensen. It's like he's even lower.
Yeah, but I think Jensen has champions where he performs well on. I think he has the Lissandra where he's pretty good on. He has a decent LeBlanc. Like let me put it like this: you can't pick a losing champion into Jensen's LeBlanc.
Yeah.
But overall, it's not that great. But also the Zillion, I think, is a big part. So I think if Fnatic think they can, like, if they think Caps can actually get a lead on them, they just ban the Zillion. If they think Caps is just gonna come online later, I think they ban the Lissandra.
Svenskeren Broxer, like, I'm gonna go through the lane matchups. So Svenskeren versus Broxer is gonna be one of the best matchups we've seen all worlds. That's probably just as hyped as Caps Rookie, and I expect it to be just as explosive as some of the other mid lane matchups we've seen, but from the jungle. So I'm excited to see what that's gonna be like. Ning versus Broxer was very exciting, so I expect this to be as well. In the top lane, I just think that's pretty much an even matchup in the jungle. In top lane, Licorice versus we assume Buipo. Buipo has started now, I think, 8 games in a row. For Fnatic, it seems to be they're sticking with Buipo right now.
I mean, maybe they bring out a surprise with SOAS at some point. Maybe they practice an interesting champion with him as well. Like bring him out game 1, pick a champion that people don't expect, and then sub him out for game 2.
But listen to this though. It's like Buipo's champions that he's played: Swain, Ornn, Swain Ornn. No, he's not played Sion recently at least. Okay. So let me go through literally like the entire tournament thus far of what has been played just by Buipo. He has played Ornn, Swain, Urgot, Ornn, Swain, Victor, Ornn, Swain. So besides the Ornn, much more aggressive champions, much more like more lane dominant champions. Now let's hear by comparison what SOAS has played. Sion, Ornn, Cho'Gath.
Yeah.
So you can see the style they're going for when they want Bwipo in the top lane. They want somebody to have a winning lane. They want because they're worried that Caps will be a liability in the mid lane. They think that bot lane should win out, but the fact that if they put Bwipo in, they have 2 winning lanes against C9.
Well, I mean, against Licorice, we'll have to see.
I think he's going to win against Licorice. Licorice looked really bad versus Keen. He got exposed. And Keen did not look very special in groups. You put him against Wonder, and he wasn't that great. You put him against Hanabi, and he wasn't that great. Suddenly against Licorice, he's stomping people. It's it shows that Licorice is going to be much more exploitable as a top laner than some of the other top laners we've seen. I think that Bwipo can win out that lane against him, and he's got a really decent champion pool to play against him. It's pretty much been just like the Hecarim, the Aatrox, and Urgot from Licorice, and that's been about it. That's been impressive. Beyond that, it's really looked shaky.
So, what kind of... I think the C9 has the potential to win every lane if they get a good matchup. Like, a good champion matchup. But at the same time...
Even matchup, I think Fnatic wins all 3 lanes.
Yeah. So, I think that's kind of where C9 has to draft well and then just survive, basically, until the comp comes online. I think they need to draft a comp that can really, like, drive it home in the mid-game.
But if Svenskeren outplays Broxah, then that's going to be the entire difference for C9. If Svenskeren outplays Broxah when they've meant to have 3 winning lanes, then suddenly everything falls apart for Fnatic.
Yeah, I think what Fnatic should just do is ban Lissandra. It's just...
Ban Zillion as well, though. That's 2 bans
really,
mid already.
Not really. I think Lissandra is really the pick you're looking at with Jensen, because C9 has been that good.
Fnatic wanted to play 1-3-1 though, so I think banning the Zillion is important to be able to get a lane advantage for your mid laner.
I think the problem with the Lissandra is C9 has been that good at AoE team fighting. Lissandra absorbs a lot of leads. So I think Lissandra can get you into the mid game and can get you a really decent team fighting squad in the mid game, and I think that's a way C9 can really win the game. So I think they should really just ban the Lissandra if they're on blue side and take the game from there.
I can see that. The thing I'd say though is like as I said, the Zillion just denies a 1-3-1 so effectively, and he's been really good on it in lane in particular. So there's been a reason that teams have needed to ban it from him, and I think that Fnatic will be one of them for the style they like to play with Caps in the mid lane. Unless they want to put Caps on something much more controlling, which I don't think will be in his wheelhouse of what he wants to play. He wants to go for things like the Aurelia, the Yasuo, the LeBlanc.
The Akali, yeah.
The Akali, yeah. Even the Aatrox, which he pulled out in one game.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how it goes. With the Aatrox, I actually really liked, I think it was Perks'
Perks was amazing.
Ghostblade first build.
Yeah.
Of course, you kind of have to be ahead a bit, but like overall, I think in mid lane, Ghostblade is a good first item. So,
thing people don't realize about Ghostblade: 40 out of combat movement speed on that item. Aatrox pops ult, he gets another 90 out of combat movement speed. You pop the Yomu's Ghostblade active, that's more bonus movement speed. Your roaming potential from mid is ballistic. You need to be so careful that an Aatrox isn't just suddenly in your lane.
Yeah, so what we saw was Phage into the Ghostblade. So just get the bonus out of combat movement speed to get in, and then just take the Phage movement speed to stick to people. Meanwhile, get all of that like massive damage you can do with lethality. And I think
he scales so well with movement speed. So yeah.
I think if you go mid lane, I think you should go like Phage into Ghostblade if you're not super far behind. But yeah, we'll have to see how that turns out. So predictions for the semis.
I think Fnatic. It's hard to predict Fnatic should win, but because I think Cloud9 genuinely has a great chance, but I think it's going to be 3-1 Fnatic, maybe 3-2.
I think C9 is going to take at least one game. I don't like predicting 3-2s. It's just because at that point you're just saying you have no idea who's going to win.
Yeah.
So,
But it's a close enough series, I think, to
yeah,
call it that.
I think I'll be honest. There's no real way to legitimately say who's gonna win that series before it happens.
Yeah.
Especially, it will depend on the drafts on the day. I think.
Oh, so much comes down to the draft right now. Yeah.
Mm, um,
Better coach wins.
at least in this scenario, because basically, if Fnatic gets drafted, or if Caps just gives up mid lane again, where he's like, okay, I'm gonna pick Swain into what was LeBlanc. On day
Yeah,
one.
yeah. It was Swain into Syndra, I think it
Oh,
was.
Syndra, yeah. But like on day one against IG, if Fnatic doesn't come in with the confidence to stomp lanes, and to get the leads there, I think C9 has a very good shot of out team fighting them later.
Mm.
So yeah, I'll have to see it on the day. But for now, I do see Fnatic having a good way to win that match. So I'm gonna say 3-1.
I've just realized your name appears as we Louis Behrman.
I
On...
man, I changed that. What the fuck, man? Uh, no,
There we go.
yeah, I must have only changed it on the other scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to look at one of the other quarterfinals now, which is G2 RNG. Basically, Uzi became irrelevant because Hyanan was able to hold his pressure, and then every single other member of RNG was also irrelevant. And that's how G2 was able to win games. They 1-3-1'd, they out macroed, and they pressured in the right places to get RNG to fall apart. Let Me did not look strong at all. Casa was not there, basically. It's MLXG was the only jungler that mattered for RNG coming into the series. They needed somebody with early game aggression, and he was able to provide that in a couple games. I want to pull up the match history if you give me one moment.
I think one of the biggest problems was that like they didn't trust Uzi to go into a matchup where he can actually stomp lane.
Yeah.
Like, have they? I don't think they pulled out the Lucian at all, for example.
They played Lucian in 3 of the games.
Did they?
Yeah, they played Lucian, Kai'Sa, Lucian, Sivir. And Hyanan played Jhin, Varus, Tristana, Sivir, Jhin.
Huh. I'm remembering the series really badly then. So you're gonna have to take over.
Yeah, the Lucian didn't matter. It just like he was able to get some early game advantages, but like they just ended up playing in the first game they played Jhin Rakan against it. But that was a game where RNG ended up team fighting pretty well to win out that game. They banned Heimerdinger all 5 games. They banned Akali 4 of 5 games away from Perks / Wonder. In game 2, they dropped the Akali ban. Wonder pulled it out, destroyed Let Me in the top lane, and they won 3-1 to victory. Yeah. It was very much like Perks had such a good series, but when you took Perks off of a high impact champion, like he won the games on LeBlanc, Aatrox, and Aurelia. He lost the games on Ryze and Cassiopeia.
Yeah. So I think mid lane bans are gonna fly in the semis.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be such a hype matchup.
Actually,
I'm so excited.
It's really weird because like I think IG is really comfortable on putting like Rookie on a low priority champion and just win lane anyway.
Yeah.
Or not like anyway against a high priority, but like if you're gonna have like a B tier mid laner versus a B tier mid laner, Rookie is still gonna get like a 50 CS lead most of the time.
The thing with Uzi in lane against because we're talking about CS leads there, you expect Uzi to be one of those guys getting a big lane lead against Hyanan. Game 1, Game 3, the games they won, he did pretty well in that. He dominated lane pretty effectively, but it wasn't really the biggest impact on the game being him. It was more some plays being made by the team around the AD carry that got him advantages. The games they lost, besides the last game, where Perks just popped the fuck off on LeBlanc, they left the Tahm Kench up for Wadid. Tahm Kench being Wadid's best support. So Hyanan just survived lane easy, made it through, Didn't really lose out in trades often, and then they just won the game out off of the team fight safety he provided, and the fact that the pressure that they were able to absorb bot lane was then responded to by pressure mid and top.
Yeah. I think G2 is like C9 is the best team fighting team in the tournament. I think G2 is the best.
Jizuke Zhaohu Jensen.
Just for context, consider that as the ultimate insult because he hates Xiaohu.
Xiaohu's a terrible mid laner, but he's better than Jensen right now. Jensen's had some good individual games, but his level of play as a whole has been shoddy at best, and he's had to be carried through by Svenskeren.
Okay.
Caps has at least shown that he can have great individual performances.
You mean Xiaohu?
I'm talking about another jungler that has been carried through by his another mid laner that's been carried through by his jungler, and I'm comparing the two. And the difference between Jensen and Caps.
I think Xiaohu had like no impact.
Yep, but neither does Jensen on his own.
But Jensen at least has like like a late mid to late game impact, where he's like actually doing like really well on Lissandra.
Yeah, but like Xiaohu did okay on Lissandra.
Saying you're not gonna convince me.
Yeah, I think that Xiaohu's a better laner. I think that Xiaohu is generally better at playing the map, but he didn't play with a jungler that gave him a 2k lead.
I still think Jensen has like a good eye for the team fight plays.
And then you can point to all the mistakes he's made in NA, like the famous Zhonya's. And I'm not sold by Jensen, and I never have been. I wanted him to do well from the moment he joined Cloud9, but that first game, when in the very first game he played for Cloud9, he's going up against Jensen's going up against Bjergsen, and what does he do? He goes, "Okay, I'm gonna go AP Cogmore mid into him, and I'm gonna get destroyed. Okay, I lost. I got absolutely wrecked." And then he goes, okay, I'm known for playing Assassins. And then halfway through the split, Cloud9's been doing terribly. I'm known for playing Assassins. What am I going to do? I'm going to pull out the Zed because that's what people know me for. And then he literally did not use an ultimate the entire game.
Yeah, but like...
I've not been sold on him ever since.
Yeah, Jensen is not a carry mid laner. I can completely agree with you on that. But I think he has found his place on like... the control / teamfight mages. I think he's a good Zillion. He's a good Lissandra.
He's good at playing
Galio.
He's good at playing control. If you look back towards his Malzahar as well, that was one of his best picks back when Malzahar was strong. So it's a fair statement to say that he's good at playing control.
Yeah, like I think he's better Crown.
Better Crown as in better than Crown is right now, or better than Crown was?
No, like Crown, like he plays similar to Crown, but better.
Better than Crown is now again?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, or better than Crown was. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
It's like he's not better than Crown was, but he's better than Crown is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he plays some. I just wanted to make the point that he plays similar to Crown.
Yeah.
But he has a decent impact right now with that playstyle.
He plays similar to Crown does now, but better. Yeah.
Okay. So he's not better than. He's not worse than Xiaohu.
Xiaohu's got a better pedigree. But Xiaohu's not the best mid laner at this tournament by far.
Xiaohu's most exciting play is like, oh, I walk up the red side jungle and take the blast cone over the wall, and nobody expected.
Nobody expects it, even though I've done it every game.
No. Xiaohu is like he's got a good Vladimir.
Oh, he was a great Vladimir.
And that's it.
He's an okay Rise.
Yeah, same way Jensen is an okay Rise.
I mean, Jensen's a mediocre Rise.
Okay.
His Rise is bad, his Azir is way worse. But let's ignore that, let's talk about G2 Perks. Perks, like, had... When he was on those melee mid laners, he had the series of his life. He was really performing out of his mind on both Aatrox and LeBlanc. His Aurelia game was pretty decent as well. I think this guy is the real deal right now, and I think he's the only guy left at the tournament who can contest Rookie.
Yeah, it's Prex is really weird, where it's like he's very good on anything that isn't a traditional mid laner. Like, he's not a great Orianna. He's not a great,
Yeah, but he's not Caps, the guy pulling out Kane mid and Vayne mid.
I mean, he was. First of all, he pulled out Kai'Sa mid, but okay, that was during funnel. But I'm pretty sure he sometimes is close to saying, yeah, let's go Vayne mid.
He's the pioneer of Rakan mids in solo queue, so
yeah, like he's hovered Vayne a couple of times now.
Yeah, it's he is the player that wants to, but I think he's much more reeled in than Caps. I think
yeah, that's fair.
Like Caps is what Perks was,
Mm.
and Caps needs another year to really be the finished article. You look at
Yeah.
Rookie, and like you can say that Rookie's the best mid laner in the world, and he's not a quote rookie. He's not come out of nowhere. He's the guy who won 2014 Summer in Korea.
Yeah, and
he's been around for such a long time.
He was actually the second best player on the roster, but he hadn't been that good in a while.
I mean, I can still argue that in China he's had some really good performances. He's just not been on a good roster.
He had some really good performances, but like saying he hasn't been on a good roster, I think is a bit of a cop out, because like.
I mean, he had Kid and Kitties and the shit version of Cacao on his roster.
Yeah, but like at the same time, like later on, I think he had like a pretty decent roster that if he was a star player, should have elevated to a world to like a team that could go to Worlds.
Potentially. I'm going to look back through some of his rosters quickly, and I'll see if there's one that I definitely think he could have performed better.
I think
on.
last year. I think last year should have been able to.
Last year they were disappointing. So they finished first in spring and summer in the splits. Last year they finished second in the regional finals with AD carry West and support Megan.
Yeah. You don't remember them for being shit.
But do I remember them at all? It's like when H2K picked up Nuclear and Shay, and a lot of people were just like, "Who? Those guys who are on Jin Air, remember? Oh, the guys who finished like 7th in Korea. Yeah, sure."
Yeah, but you can still win with Nuclear and Shay if you have a good roster. Other than that,
when I look at the roster he had with like Zatai, Kid, Rookie, Rain, and Tabe, maybe that's better. Maybe that's a potentially great roster. But then you look at Worlds 2015, Zatai, and then Cacao doing 450 damage in a game as Skarner. Kid switching out for time halfway through the tournament, and Kitties. That was terrible.
Yeah. At the same time, I think, as I said before, like Perks was able to get like that husk of G2 to MSI in 2016, like that. What was it? Kick is Kick is Trick.
Emperor and Hybrid in the bottom lane, that was all on Perks.
He was able to carry that husk to OSI,
and he didn't get MVP. He went to Trick. It was like Trick was a good jungler at the time, domestically. Internationally, he was never good, but yeah, he did manage to get that team to MSI, and I think I can understand where you're coming from in terms of Rookie should have had rosters where he's done better, but like the thing that I was getting at overall is like Rookie has been a really good mid laner for a long time. So him being the best in the world now suddenly being the thing, and it's been arguable for a while. I'd say he's been the best mid laner in the world since spring. But
I'll be honest, like he even if he wasn't like successful in the LPL, he has for a while been like a high watermark for people to like, okay, I'm playing as Rookie in solo queue. If I do good, I'm actually a good mid laner, you know?
Yeah, he's still been like, if you remember even back in season 5 when he was on a shit tier roster, Rookie versus Godv was some of the best 1v1s China's ever seen. I think the Rookie is definitely a great pedigree player, and what I'm getting at is Caps needs time to be the finished article.
Yeah.
Caps needs another season. Perks is pretty much there. Perks is where I think he needs to be.
Yeah, I think I'm really happy with what Fnatic has done this season. Like as we talked about before, they gave Caps pretty much the shot calling role at MSI.
Yeah,
that's a big reason why Reckless wasn't playing as well at MSI, and kind of had problems there, because Caps was calling around him, was actually developing into a pretty, like, one of the best mid laners in EU, and like after they put off the restraint of like, okay, you're always the second guy after Reckless. He was actually the first guy for a while, at least in the.
And he showed up at the tournament, but
yeah,
he's just.
He was he wasn't he wasn't the best player on the team, but they traded him like that for a while, and so he could develop as a star player, and I think it has really paid off coming into this Worlds.
Yeah, it's definitely worked out, and having to play with Weepo as your AD carry for so long definitely helps with that, because it meant that he was very much the focus of the roster in mid lane, and the bot lane was very sustainable in and of itself. But like, of the 4 mid laners left, Jensen's the weakest by far. I think Caps is performing the third weakest, but the second weakest rather.
Yeah.
And then it would go Perks and finally Rookie. So I think that it's hard, because I think that G2 versus Fnatic right now would very much come down to how Jankos plays, but I think G2 could probably beat Fnatic for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, I've wondered
if they played them now.
That's always that's always the thing. Like, Wonder is a very good mechanical player, but he just has no idea what like is going on in a game at any point. Like, he's pushing up. Like, he had like the game he had like 400 CS, and they almost who did they
Flash Wolves?
No, I think it was Freaka, wasn't it?
It was Flash Wolves. I was making the comment consistently that Flash Wolves didn't know how to play side lanes. They lost the game while he had 200
okay,
CS lead.
I wasn't that. It was a Freaka then. I meant the game where they actually lost to a Freaka in week 2. And
okay, I was thinking of the game they lost to Flash Wolves.
Wonder like was on like 400 CS on Aurelia, and like got every single resource, pumped into him to carry late game, and then he gets caught out of the side lane, has to use his ultimate, and engages later without an ultimate, and just causes...
that sounds like the exact game I'm describing against Flash Wolves.
Is it?
So yeah.
Okay, I thought first because you went on, and it kind of sounded like you meant the Flash Wolves game where they actually won in the 1-3-1.
No, they played 1-3-1 against Flash Wolves and lost with him playing Aurelia in the side lane and getting to 400 CS. And I was making the comment that Flash Wolves have no idea how to play the side lanes, but he just kept inting.
Yeah. Especially in that like very late game, it was so terrible. So yeah, I think Wonder is always a bit of a coin toss, because like basically a defective clock is right twice a day. So sometimes he just backs off when he's supposed to, not because he knows when to back off, but because he does.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I have an item now. Let me back off.
He just dodges a gank. Yeah. It's just like a support going, oh look, there's a relic coin on the floor right there. I'll go and pick it up, and they accidentally dodge a jinx ult.
Yeah. So I think G2 could really use next season is get a support, like a Mata type support that can like direct him around the map like he did Looper. Remember?
I think Wadid needs to develop his communication, but he can potentially be that good. I think Wadid's got a lot of potential. So I think, honestly, this roster is incredibly workable. Unless you can pick up a god tier like jungler or top laner, like literally the best in the league sort of caliber, then I don't think there's any point in changing. You're not going to get Broxah. You're not going to get... You're probably not going to get somebody like Cabochard or...
Yeah, I really hope
Viscachi.
I actually really hope that they can even keep the roster together, because like
I think they can keep it. Yeah,
we're gonna have franchising, so there's gonna be some money pumped into the league, and I'm really worried that we're gonna have like similar situation to NA, where like all the big teams kind of fall apart.
well, all the lower tier teams are falling apart, so the scraps of them are available to be picked up by everybody. And I'm excited to see what happens with that, because let me just pull up the ULCS quickly, and I'm going to go through the rosters, because honestly, there's some really big names still available that can just be picked up by anybody.
I mean, we got Splice all being able to look for opportunities.
All of Splice, so Kasing, yeah, Kasing, Odoamne, Xerxes, Niski, and Kobe. Kobe really needs to be picked up by a roster, and I think he needs to be picked up by one of the top 5.
Honestly, I'm interested to see where the Astralis roster will go.
Yeah. Misfits are in, Schalke's in, Fnatic's in, G2's in, and there was one other team.
Astralis.
Vitality's in.
Ah, yeah.
I'm thinking of the teams that are staying in.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Teams that are gone are Splice, Roccat, Giants, H2K, and Unicorns. So big members there to be picked up are like Betsy, all of the Splice roster, Memento, Sheriff.
Yeah.
Cold I think could probably be picked up pretty effectively. I think Cold would be good in a roster built around him.
I still think there's a bunch of players who can. Like I still think there is going to be players from the big teams who are going to just get bought out.
I mean, yeah, we saw that would happen with contracts, didn't we? Well, not as in the written contracts, as in the player contracts going from C9 to Golden Guardians.
Yeah, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Everybody expected him to say he was such a high-quality rookie, but Cloud9 just yeeted him out to the worst team in the league.
Yeah. Golden Guardians.
It's a failed vanity project by the looks of it.
Yeah, and I hope that
Golden State.
Like I hope that Riot is gonna look at what happened in NA to some extent.
And they're gonna use this as the polished article.
No, but I'm just gonna look at it like, okay, this like, okay, Mad Lions Madrid, that's good because we have an existing structure in. Like looking at like when Schalke first burst on the scene and bought like Elements, it's like, yeah, that's really bad actually, and it kind of scarred Schalke for a while, and is probably, in my opinion, the reason why we are not gonna see that many German football teams, because Schalke's like, oh god, what did we do here?
But then Schalke managed to bring it back, and like they unlike PSG, who failed in one split and then said we're done. Schalke bought into League of Legends. They stuck it out through the Challenger Series. They bought Upset in. They brought some really good players, and they played out their situation well. Yeah,
but like with the amount of work that Schalke had to put in to get a good staff and a good roster, and I think that scared away like German football teams quite heavily.
I think PSG did a lot of to scare away the teams as well. The final quarterfinal that we need to talk about though is IG versus KT, and KT, they first picked Kai'Sa and they lost 2 games while they first picked Kai'Sa,
and they won 1 game while first picking Kai'Sa.
Yep, they won 1 game while first picking Kai'Sa out of 3. 33% win rate when first picking it. It was a really questionable pick, and it just got outscaled by things like Sivir, and it meant that IG could just come in with Jackie Love and be fine.
It's the thing, like I think KT just wasn't like was really a victim of the group they were in, because they weren't challenged in that group.
Apart from the 1 game they lost to EDG by inting in the draft.
Sure, but like they weren't challenged on their conceptions of the game.
Yeah.
They were never pushed to the limits with a Kai'Sa before, so they still thought, okay, Kai'Sa is the best AD carry in the meta. Why are you leaving it open? It's like the second highest priority pick in the current meta. No, it isn't. We've seen.
Imagine if they had Vitality in their group instead of Team Liquid.
Yeah.
Or if that would have been much more interesting. Because that's one of the potential changes. Obviously, it means it would change where C9 ended up. But like you could have had, imagine, you just switch Vitality C9 with EDG TL. EDG makes it out of groups in second behind RNG. Well, no, you can't do that either. But regardless, it just means that suddenly KT get challenged in the group stage, they actually have to start playing more aggressive. Score gets tested a bit more because Score coming into the series, I was like, look at this jungler. This guy has god tier pathing. This guy makes 0 mistakes. And then he just fell apart because he wasn't used to being pressured out as Ning did pressure him consistently.
Kudos to them for actually like adapting mid-series, coming back 2 games.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like IG is a good enough team that they can actually take 1 out of 3 games from KT, even if KT has a decent understanding of how to play.
Yeah. IG made a lot of mistakes in those game 3 and 4, but KT, they were capitalizing on the mistakes and they were playing much more aggressively to be able to capitalize on them, so it looked a lot better. It's just Deft was given so much of his team's gold and did nothing with it. That's the very Korean thing at the minute, which was just give the AD carry all your gold and hope he just carries a late game fight 1v9. Whereas, like other teams, you saw Fnatic actually giving a lot of their gold over to Bwipo in their series.
Spoiler: there is no late game.
There is no late game anymore. Late game is 3 items. Yeah.
So we've talked a decent amount about IG G2 already.
Yeah.
So I think we're just going to predictions.
3-1 IG.
Okay.
I want to believe in G2, but I think IG just wins out top with the Shy playing like a monster.
Yeah. It will depend on the IG that shows up on the day. But I think G2 has a really hard time hanging on in the early to mid game.
Yeah, I predict the finals to be Fnatic versus IG, which would be a very interesting finals to see a rematch of groups. I don't think we've ever seen a rematch of groups as the finals before.
Let me think. That sounds wrong to me.
Because it's I think it's been 2 Koreans for 2 times in a row.
Yeah. I forgot
Was Royal in the same group as SKT ever? Is the
no, it wasn't. The Royal was the seed that came in quarters.
And was Royal in the same group as Samsung?
No.
Then that means that no.
In that group.
There has never been a rematch of groups in finals then.
I'm just thinking about season 1 and 2 right now.
Qualified in quarters, TPA.
Yeah. At season 1, I guess not either.
Yeah. But yeah, we've never seen a group rematch in finals, and it would be really interesting to see, like, think about the fact that 100 Thieves and G-Rex were in the team with the 2 best teams in the world, potentially. There's obviously still 2 semifinals to go through before that, but
yeah.
we could still see the G2 C9 final, obviously.
Yeah. Would be it would kind of be my dream final.
G2 C9. For me, it's G2 Fnatic's the dream.
I mean, I just think having like 3rd seed versus 3rd seed would be really cool.
Oh, that would be really weird. 2 teams that went through play-ins making finals. Jesus. It just shows that having so much more practice on the meta is actually that much more relevant and the momentum behind it.
Yeah, I mean, if C9 would have made it in 2nd seed, like, or even beat TL, they would have had like the performance that, oh, we almost lost to Detonation Focus Me. We went 3-2 over Gambit. Like, coming into that group with Genji, like an RNG, there's no way they're taking games of RNG.
Yeah. Cloud9's always just been an ever ramping up train that's gaining steam. And Fnatic needs to suck the wind directly out of the sails as soon as possible in that game 1. So if Fnatic wants to beat C9, I think they need to just go for a hard, aggressive, stompy comp in game 1, like they did in game 5 against, game 4 rather, against EDG, and pull it out early. If they can do that, then suddenly C9 looks shaken for the first time in a while, and I think they can take him down. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think Fnatic IG is the final that's probably gonna happen.
Yeah.
I would still be really excited if we got G2 in the finals, and I kind of want to see C9 in the finals because it just means we have an interesting semifinal as well. Because
prove yourself and Rise as bad as Zera's worse, though.
God,
it's just like Perks has to make finals. We saw him in like he's the only member left from the Rise video. He's the only one that's actually left. Faker didn't even make it. Uzi went out in quarters. Like two Perks as well, and Ambition went out in the group stage. So it's literally like the reverse completely. Uzi loses to Perks, and Ambition loses to Uzi.
Yeah, and then Perks goes out while playing Yasuo.
Yeah.
Gets killed by
against a Kha'Zix.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
gets murdered by Ning on Kha'Zix.
Rookie just suddenly goes, "All right, I'm Cacao now," and pulls out Kha'Zix.
You mean Ning?
No, Rookie. Rookie's paying homage to his fallen comrade who last
maybe
played.
Not Cacao, but more like Alex.
Yeah, Alex Each at that point. Yeah. Well, I mean, like Alex Each needs to be avenged as well for him falling in season 2 and never really fully coming back to that level that we saw him at that point.
I mean, season 3 was still really good.
Still really good, but he never quite hit that season 2 level, or even.
I mean, he got the Kha'Zix
pentakill
in season 3.
Yeah, but that wasn't like. That was more the champion than him. Whenever I look back at that clip, clip is just like the champion's ridiculous. But
yeah, fair enough.
Alex Each himself was at his best in season 2, I'd say.
Yeah, he was. But I think he was still like pretty good in season 3, and the fact that Fnatic upset Moscow 5 in Gambit in spring finals, you know, like I remember when like the All-Star voting came around, like the roster that actually went to All-Stars was SOAS, how's it called, Diamond Prox, Alex Each, Yellow Pete, and Edward. And the only reason why Yellow Pete went was because they weren't allowed to have 4 players from Gambit go. So Genja had to stay home.
So Genja got the lowest votes of anybody.
Genja got the highest votes.
As in, like, Genji got the lowest votes of anybody else on Moscow 5. Yeah. I told you about the story of Moscow 5 trying to be taught how to do interviews, didn't I? Where I was actually told it by one of the Riot staff who they have to do PR, they have to teach the players how to act in an interview, so they do mock interviews with them. I think Joe Miller used to do them as well with the teams, but it's Becca Roberts did this one with Moscow 5. I think it was Gambit because it was just joining the LCS, and they all pretended like they couldn't speak English to her. And Alex Each was apparently like he was very well spoken. He was very much like the nicest guy, and he worked hard to try and be as professional as possible. He had Genja and Darian just memeing it up, pretending that like they didn't even speak English.
Yeah. Yeah. Moscow 5 was a weird place. I wanted to say something before that, but I kind of forgot what I wanted to say, and now it's too late.
Well, going back towards the, like we were talking about the finals, if it was Fnatic versus IG, I'd predict 3-2 IG. I think Fnatic can take 2 games off of that.
I think IG should be able to close that out at that point, unless Reckless just absolutely dumpsters Draculov.
Yeah, Reckless has been getting better and better as the tournament's gone on. But the other thing is, if G2 can beat IG, they're going to win finals, in my opinion. If G2 has the ability to beat IG, they'll win finals.
Yeah, that's... I mean, unless... I think C9 is an interesting matchup against them because they have like such different styles.
Yeah, but the thing is, if G2 is able to win against IG, a team that plays much more like Cloud9, because IG, Cloud9, and Fnatic all play fairly similarly, it's G2 with a very unique style.
Yeah, I still think G2 still has that potential to just throw it away in team fights.
Yeah.
So
G2 are potentially the best and worst of the remaining 4 at the same time. It just depends on
same as Cloud9.
Which yeah, that's also fair to say. So it's G2 versus Cloud9 is very interesting as a theory. But yeah, it's hard to predict finals without seeing the semifinals first. I think it's going to be a big indicator. But if we see G2 win against IG even remotely convincingly, they're going to win finals.
Okay. So we wanted to talk about a bit about the meta. We already talked a bit about like how the early game is structured.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that like every lane can have carries and supportive kind of like maybe it's not optimal to play Jhin, but it still works and you can still like have a good enough impact with it.
Yeah.
We don't have a like dominant strategy like remember when everybody Doran Shield's like really good. Everybody has to go Doran Shield and you can't win early game in bot lane. When Alan Sensor was good and you could only play
Varus and Xayah, play for late game.
And Tristana,
Yeah.
And
I get exactly what you mean. Yeah, it's something that needed to be addressed, and they need to make sure there was no just one strategy. And this has been probably the most diverse strategically World Championship. The fact that we see 3 teams with very similar styles in Fnatic, IG, and well, I say similar styles. It's very much just where the strengths are in terms of the individual players on the roster. That they're very similar. Their styles do differ a fair amount, but G2 having a completely unique style to all 3 of them is something that I'm really glad to see. And it could just be that their style proves to be the best one and they win out, but it doesn't feel like stylistically it's going to be the matchup that determines it. I think it seems like it's going to actually be the players.
The styles are close. The styles are close enough to each other that that execution comes into play is the thing.
Yeah. So it's the triangle that people always talked about. It's like pick comp loses to engage comp. Engage comp loses to poke comp loses to pick comp.
You mean 1-3-1?
It's just like it's just a triangle. It's just a triangle.
Yeah.
And it's like there is no triangle here. It's just every single one of them is on even footing, and like you've got 1-3-1, you've got just team fighting compositions, you've got aggressive engaged compositions, and they all just seem to be on fairly even footing. It just comes down to execution.
I think that's kind of the problem that we had with Zoe as well, because she kind of mangled together a poke and a pick comp.
Yeah. That was one of the biggest issues with Zoe. Yeah.
So there was no dominant strategy onto her. Like the best thing you could do was play engage onto her, but she could just chunk you down.
It's like, imagine if Ashe was hypermobile. It's the kind of the thing. She's both good at pick and poke.
Hey. Anyway, yeah. So I do think it's really interesting that he can have carries in every lane. We've seen even like the Victor come up top now. We got, of course, the Urgot Atrox kind of duo there. We also have that mid. We can have Sion mid still. Like, when was the last time we saw Sion? I think it was even in quarters, right?
Sion was probably used in quarters by somebody. I know we saw Let Me Play Only Tanks.
No, Sion mid.
Oh, Sion mid.
I think Sion mid was.
Yes, we did see that in quarters. I'm pretty sure we did see that in quarters.
So
from RNG in game 2.
Yeah, so you can just put everything. Like you can put your carries anywhere you want. You can have jungle carries. You can have like Nocturne be your jungle carry. You can play Graves
from Svenskeren. Yeah.
You can play Kindred, but you can also at the same time still play Zac. Can still play Gragas. It's really a diverse set of strategies and picks, and I think that really pleases me.
Yeah, I'm happy to see where it goes, but I mean, what is it now? About 30 hours away, the next semi-final. So we'll have to wait and see. I think the first one's G2 IG. So I think whoever wins that will win Worlds.
Okay. I think you're most likely right.
It's hard to see IG losing if they like stomp G2, and it's hard to see G2 losing if they're able to convincingly shut down IG.
So,
is it that time again? Is it that time of year?
Please no.
It's the preseason, baby.
Okay. So yeah, preseason. We've got a dev update coming out. Has come out.
Preseason dev update.
Yeah, pretty much just talking about the towers. We already saw it on PBE now.
Yep. It's just come out on the PBE. Basically, the towers are much more tanky pre 15 minutes, and they gain a bunch of bonus resistances if you try and stack on them. So it means that trying to 4-man stack to take tower is much less effective. It means that the laning phase lasts much longer, but you'd still get large amounts of bonus gold for winning out your lane and for taking a lot of tower damage off the opponents, because taking a fifth of the tower's HP grants 160 local gold to whoever's in the nearby vicinity. So like you can force the enemy out of mid lane, just auto attack the towers, get a fifth of its HP. You just got 160 gold and a wave advantage. So you sit even more comfortably in the lead. So it means less often I think mids are going to be resetting to utilize the fact that they pressured up the enemy mid and get a good wave and off and reset. They're going to be trying to push for that extra 160 gold. And that can be obviously punished by aggressive junglers, trying to punish the greed of somebody alone there. So I think it's really interesting. It's going to be really interactive. But the idea is, by picking a champion that loses lane, your tower isn't just gone at 5 minutes because you died to a gank and then the enemy jungle with the enemy mid laner takes tower.
Yeah. So we've been theorizing a bit about it. Overall, the consensus we kind of came to is that stacking with more than 3 people to take a tower is not really effective anymore. So what I think we're going to see is actually supports, if you have a 4-man stack bot lane, the supports actually just going for a roam or backing early.
Yeah, so you dive the enemy tower to try and kill the bot lane, and then the support just leaves to go and do whatever, while you can even leave the AD carry hitting the tower by themselves to get that gold for themselves. So you try and minimize the bonus resistances it gets.
Yeah, so basically, you kind of have to snowball differently. You can't snowball through gold that easily anymore. Or through tower and the map advantage that you get out of that. You kind of have to snowball through, okay, we got priority here now, we can send out support into the jungle, get some vision down, get more kills in other lanes, get some farm advantage.
Yeah, the other thing that I think is important to note as well is minions are speeding up dramatically. So minions used to scale up to plus 25% movement speed later in the game. Now minions will move at 25 minutes into the game twice as fast. So, I think it's 35 minutes into the game twice as fast, and it scales up from the start of the game to 100% at that point. Meaning that without Baron, you can still effectively siege because the minion waves arrive that much quicker. They're literally twice as close together as they were before. When you think, where's the next minion wave? You don't look at... You go, where's the next minion wave right now? And you're looking back at like the tier 1 tower going, oh no, we've got to wait like 30 seconds for that minion wave to arrive.
At the same time,
pretty much already on top of you at that point after you've reset a wave.
Yeah, at the same time though, the spawn timer doesn't increase.
Yes, but it's half as much time to get from the spawn to the tower.
Yeah. I can get you there. So this is of course gonna mess up a lot of timings, and I think we're gonna have to wait and see how this actually affects the lanes in particular. Like if you set up a slow push, how fast is it gonna push out, and it might also affect like how many minutes you can actually stack with a slow push.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing that this changes as well is one, obviously as you're saying, it's easier to stack waves, but two, Baron buff is utilized differently because now Baron buff minions, they are speedy as hell. They're actually faster than champions. So
it's actually really bad.
Yeah, it's really strange to look at when I played Kai'Sa earlier on. To be fair, I'd sold my boots at that point, and I was at 6 items, but I had like 360 movement speed. They were still moving faster than me. They probably have about 400. It's insane how quickly they move. So the fact that Baron increases the movement speed even further is stupid, but Baron no longer gives bonus resistances to tower damage. It's only bonus resistance to champion damage from minions. So towers are going to shred through Baron minions that much easier. But the Baron minions will be arriving that much quicker because, as you said, 100% movement speed. You can then walk backwards and pick up a wave, and it's going to arrive to the tower that much quickly. It's that much easier to stack Baron waves. They just aren't as tanky, 2 towers. So you can't just have a Baron wave stand and take tower while you sit there doing nothing. Like, you're sitting 100 units out of tower range just watching the minions kill. It's going to be a lot harder to do that.
So, my kind of problem with this is, like...
Oh, also they nerfed super minions.
My problem with this is I think it's supposed to, help champions that are not that great in the early game and survive the early game. But I think what it's gonna do is it's gonna make it much easier to actually gain a lead. Maybe not as big of a lead, but it's gonna be much easier to actually gain those like chips on the towers for the lane dominant champions. It's gonna give them gold, access to that gold off the tower much easier.
Yeah. So being dominant in lane should accelerate your laning phase that much easier. But the thing is, if you're a champion that comes online pre-15 minutes and needs to get a team fight pre-15 minutes, all the towers are still going to be there. So nobody's really going to be fighting over anything. So it's hard to force an advantage at that point. That's why you need the gold to try and accelerate a lead for the 15-minute phase. So you would normally be looking for a big skirmish or a big fight before 15 minutes to get like a 1-item lead on Lucian, for example. But with this, you're trying to get the chip damage onto the tower, so you can then break the tower down. You can break open the objective and get the little bits of chip gold to get that item advantage that you would normally get from a fight. So if you break 4 of them off, that's the equivalent of getting 2 kills. And you might have got a kill in lane as well, so you're effectively 3 kills up.
Yeah.
And their tower's still alive. But does that matter when their tower's still alive and you've got, say, a Sivir that's allowed to hit her first item before she is forced to teamfight?
And what this also kind of means to me is that gold that you gain early cannot be responded to. Because after 15 minutes, like, if your comp is designed to, like, get a team fight at 20 minutes and then just take all the towers back, usually if you're somewhat even in gold but the opponent has more towers alive, you can get a massive gold swing off of winning one team fight. Just farm out,
you get all the standing gold on the map. But now after the 15-minute mark, all that standing gold of these barriers is lost. So it's very much like it seems like it's going to be scaling in a very different way, where you've got scaling members, but you need to have an early game threat somewhere to utilize that gold on the map. You need to be able to go, we have a scaling bot lane, but our top lane's very early game. So you imagine, say you've got Pantheon top lane, but Jinx bot lane. It needs to be something along those lines.
So if... also, just to punish the top laner, if he comes... like, if the other top laner TP's bot to snowball bot, you can actually take, like, 2 or 3 chips off the tower if you're fast enough.
So if he did end up like getting a kill bot lane, you can even that out by getting 2 chips off the tower top lane, and you'll have been getting the minion advantage and experience advantage anyway. So it seems like a really solid trade-off for just playing lane dominance. But the thing is, if you play something that's good in lane, but then actually scales pretty well, but has a rough mid game, this is optimal for that. So say you're playing like a Caitlyn. Caitlyn's the one I'm really looking at here. Caitlyn very good in the early game. If she's able to pressure out and get chips off the tower, by the time the mid game comes around, she's avoided her mid game trough. She's got enough of an advantage to the point where she can actually have an item and a half, 2 items, and be relevant. So she doesn't need as much time to scale. And that's where I think those champions will be the most superior. Not maybe specifically Caitlyn. Caitlyn's just a good example. Caitlyn's pretty weak as a champion right now. But the theory is still there. The basis of when the champion is strong is still there.
Okay, so let's actually talk champions. So one of the problems I kind of see with the jungle right now in this scenario is in order to have an extra member do damage to a tower, he has to increase the damage to the tower more than the extra resistance he grants the tower takes away. So for example, I think this is going to be a massive problem for tank junglers.
So just to explain this quickly, the tower gets more resistances every single time you chip off one of the shards for every person around it beyond the first. So if there's just one person chipping it away at it, it won't gain many bonus resistances. If there's 4 people standing around it, it will gain 75 armor and magic resist, plus the 30 from you taking that. So that's 105. That effectively halves the amount of damage you do. And that will be for every single shard taken.
So, actually, let me just quickly check if I got this right. This is like, they gain the armor when the champions are around, not like at the time the chip is taken off.
Yes, and it will lose it after 20 seconds, I believe was the statement.
Okay, so it's not like, okay, if you take the chip with 4 people,
it's permanently bonused.
Yeah.
No, all the bonus resistances fall off once 14-minute comes, regardless.
Yeah, but like also when champions walk away, they lose the resistances again.
It's after 20 seconds rather than when they walk away.
Yeah, but like, you get what I mean.
Yeah. So
actually,
the idea
20
is that
seconds. That's a long time.
Yeah, 20 seconds is normally how long it takes to take the tower in its entirety.
Yeah.
So it's promoting getting ship damage bit by bit on a tower rather than trying to make a tower dive in one play.
That actually throws a wrench in my in the support theory, because he's going to be quote unquote present for the next 20 seconds.
But if the support, like, the idea is you kill the enemy bot lane, and literally everybody leaves apart from the AD carry, who chips the tower by themselves. They get the local gold. Okay, everybody else is then roaming.
But that only works if you don't dive.
Well, you have to dive. It's not like you're there. It's you when you take the chip off of the tower. Who's present at the time?
Wait, I just asked you that, and you said that was the case.
It's when the shard falls off of the tower. Anybody who's present causes it to get bonus resistances.
Oh, okay. I thought, okay.
So it's it's not just whoever's there in general. It's like it has to be when the shard falls off, whoever's there.
Mm-hmm.
But if no one's there when the shard falls off, then you get the bonus resistances are not added. It's only minor bonus resistances. It's like 30 armor and magic resist rather than 100.
Yeah. Okay. Now I actually get this right. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I think tank jungle is gonna have a bit of a problem, because let's be real. Like, if you have a Graves jungle, you're gonna 2-man push that tower, and you're gonna push it much faster.
Yeah, so that would be 25 bonus armor and magic resistance. So that would be basically taking off like 12% of your damage done for the both of you, but Graves does enough to make that up. Yeah.
Mm. So, for support, I don't think it changes that much, because, as we said, support is probably not...
I still like the idea of going demolish supports to take one ship and then leave.
Actually, I think that might be what you do if you go into a losing lane. Just
when you go into what, sorry?
Into a losing lane. Because after they push and get like a couple of yacht ships, you just quickly push back while they reset, and just get the one chip with demolish.
Also, one of the things is, if you are really lane dominant, you just take 3 chips and lane swap, because it's the armor and magic resistance is lower on the top lane one. So you can utilize that effectively to maximize your gold input.
If Riot is gonna let us lane swap.
I mean, they let us lane swap at the minute. It's just you have to take bot lane tower first.
Yeah.
So I think the idea is, like, it's still probably the timing of the lane swap would still be about the same. It's just you take 2 or 3 chips, and then you lane swap, because it's actually that much quicker to take the chips off of the top lane one than the bot lane one. So it's time and cost efficient to be lane swapping there.
God,
if you're winning lane matchup hard enough.
This is more brain melting than the base gate ever was.
There's a base gate that only one team can walk through. Another thing that's changing is bounties are going to be capped at 1,000, so effectively 700 for a bounty, 300 for the baseline kill. So that's going to be a mix of gold you get for them having a lot of CS and gold you get from them having a lot of kills. it seems to be a bit larger than it was before. Honestly, like the bounty seems to be like, if they've got 3 kills, they've given an example here. A Swain with 3 kills and 0 CS is worth 600 gold. It's like, that's a lot of money. He's 3 and 0 and worth 600. So I think it means just basically, getting 1 kill suddenly makes you worth 400.
Yeah, I think this also kind of pushes back on the, okay, you lose the early game lead, but if you get like the one team fight and just shut all of them down, like you're gonna get the goal that you don't get from the towers. You gotta get that in the champions.
Yeah, the other thing was like I'm really glad they're capping the bounty at 1,000 because it felt really bad. I was playing the other day. I was 13-0 on Graves, and I decided to go 1v4 because the game was about to end, and I died after getting 2 or 3 of them, and the Lee Sin that killed me got 1,950 gold on the spot, and I was just like, hello. It was like, that's basically him completed an item from just getting 1 kill.
Yeah. So I think what always has to be the measuring stick at the end for like every change. The problem with snowballing is always like, in my opinion, you're gonna have to, as a team, you should make a certain amount of mistakes of a certain magnitude to lose the game. And if you the opponent has to make an equal amount of mistakes with an equal amount of magnitude to recoup that. So basically, after a certain amount of those, you should die. The problem with snowballing is it says like, okay, you make 2 mistakes, and now due to us being ahead, which is skipping all the other mistakes you have to make to lose the game, and we're just gonna win the game anyway. So
yeah,
that's always kind of what it has to come back to. If you're supposed to come back, the comeback mechanics have to get you that far that you still have to have like 3 good fights to win if you're very far behind.
Yeah,
it's and it always has kind of been the problem where like either you have season 3 where like, okay, 2 kills in the early game just snowball a game completely out of control, and your opponent doesn't have to make any mistakes anymore. You just have to play good and you win. Or you have like, okay, every game is going to 40 minutes, and then one team fight is gonna decide it all no matter what. Yeah.
Season 7, yeah. But even those games wasn't like one team fight decides it. It was more like Spring that you're referring to. Season 7 was much more like, nobody wants to die, so if one person dies, 4 people run for the hills and desperately try and defend, and nobody can siege up because Baron was weak as hell at the time.
Yeah.
Last couple changes I want to mention here are they're making cannon minions health scale infinitely now.
Okay.
And wait, that's right. They used to scale infinitely. Now they cap at 3,200 at 37 minutes.
Okay.
So the health increases much faster, as now it has an extra 900 health by the 37-minute mark. But they no longer scale infinitely in health. Cannon minions will spawn more often at earlier phases. It used to be like every other wave they'd spawn after 15 minutes. After 20 minutes. Now that's going to be down to 15. And spawning every wave at 25 minutes rather than 35 minutes. So one thing that's actually not to be understated about that is after 15 minutes, every other wave having a cannon wave, that's 5 extra minutes of much larger gold income from wave, effectively doubling the gold income of a wave. That's very valuable. It means like 50% extra gold because it's every other wave.
Yeah.
For lanes after the 15-minute mark, and we've said that laning phase is going to last for the most part 15 minutes. So this is an interesting change, and it means that once the tower resistances are gone, it's going to be that much easier to siege as well.
Yeah.
Last change I want to mention as well is the epic monster respawn timer. Drakes spawn every 5 minutes, so technically it's possible to get 7. Elder Dragon spawns every 6 minutes rather than 8 minutes, which is now exactly the same as Baron. So Baron and Elder spawn at exactly the same time with exactly the same time difference. I think that makes for a lot more of interesting aggressive trades. And with Baron taking a minute less, you think about the Baron buff lasts 3 minutes. So you take Baron, you reset, you get on the map, you spend the 3 minutes there. 3 minutes left until Baron spawns once Barons run out. You generally stay on the map for another 40 to 50 seconds at least, trying to clean up the last of the waves, finish off any towers you can, deny the vision, reset, and prepare for whatever your next plan is. Now at that point, by the time you're back onto the map, it's a minute until Baron spawns. Previously, you had like 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. Now it's going to be a minute until Baron spawns. That's going to be a lot more pressure and a lot more. Yeah. It's a lot harder to get back into the game if you're the team that's been had a Baron used on you.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it means that if you're resetting late, you could just lose Baron because you don't have the vision pressure set up there. It's much easier to contest as a 50-50, but it's much harder to contest as a 5-man.
Yeah, you really have to capitalize a lot on the reset that they have to do, because at the end you have to spend your gold, otherwise it doesn't matter at all.
Okay, the other thing that they're doing is caster minions and melee minions. That's really worrying here. Caster minions now have double the damage they would do at the 37-minute mark. So 37 minutes is now late game.
That's rough.
37-minute mark is when all of the minions hit their maximum stats, and they can get outscaled from there. If you've
but I mean,
so that's they go from 60 AD to 120.
Yeah, and I mean it's kind of going with the times. I mean we're already at the point where like most champions actually hit their item spikes, like their 3 to 4 item spikes at 30 minutes.
Melee minions have been upped from 12 to 80 AD at 37 minutes.
12.
From 12 AD to 80 AD.
So you can't fight around waves anymore.
At 37 minutes. This is... Because...
that is really stupid.
This is... Oh, wow. That's really worrying. That's really, really worrying.
Also, I mean, it's probably not going to be that bad, but like,
minions do a ton more damage by themselves.
Yeah, have they considered what that does to super minions? Like, they
nerfed the hell out of super minions.
Yeah, can 3 melee minions now take out a super minion?
Maybe that is the case. 3 melee minions can maybe take out a super minion.
No,
yes.
No, don't do that. Please.
But super minions, they have base AD lowered by 80, so it's gone from 306 to 225. Attack speed increased, and they no longer grant minions 70% bonus damage as an aura. So what they've done is they've taken the strength away from the super minion and they've given it to general minions.
Okay.
So it's much easier to break open the base if it's just the inhibitor towers up. What they've tried to do here is you rely less on when you get to that phase in the game where it's just reset for Baron. Okay, what do we do for the next 4 minutes? We wait until Baron spawns. They're saying now you can actually siege at that point in the game. Baron is just an empowerment to that siege.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting change, but it means that we're not going to get any more 60-minute games.
Yeah. I think we're not quite at the point where we can actually accurately describe what is going to happen.
Yeah, but it's good to speculate.
Yeah. One thing that basically tells me, though, is there's never a reason to take an inhibitor over Baron.
Yeah. Super minions are now nowhere near as valuable as the Baron buff, yes.
Because back in the day, it was like, yeah, if you can either take like bot inhibitor or Baron, you take bot inhibitor every time.
Yeah, that used to be the case. And they've buffed Baron and they've nerfed supers consistently since that phase. Yes. It was actually quite rare that you saw super minions versus Baron. I remember, but like when you saw it, it was about even. And Baron would actually struggle to push into super minions. Okay.
So, anything else to add?
Just gonna scan through. There was one thing that nobody was really aware of, but I'm gonna acknowledge is gone. There used to be a thing that lane minions would get bonus stats based on the level difference between you and your opponent's team. So it would actually give them bonus, I believe it was bonus movement speed and bonus damage to minions. So minions would get the stat that says a percentage bonus damage to minions, depending on the level difference between you and your opponent to help snowball. That's gone. So it's harder to just let the minions snowball on their own, because what that would mean is if I'm 3 levels up, my top lane's going to automatically push, even if nobody's there. Now that's gone. I think that's actually for the better, considering they've given so much strength to minions as a whole anyway.
Yeah, and it's overall just such a weird mechanic to play around.
Yeah.
Like, I think there was one strategy where, like, Alice even just theorized that maybe they were thinking about the minion level or something, but he was like, that might be the reason they did that. It was really, like, it was a really uninteractive mechanic.
It was effectively minions had levels, yeah.
Yeah. And it's, like, nobody really played a strategy around that. Anyway.
Yeah, it's the fact that nobody was aware of the stats unless you clicked and looked at the minions, like, tooltip.
Yeah. And there was also not a way to, like, yeah, we're going to play this style because then we're going to have minion level advantages here, and that's why we can do X. It just wasn't the case.
Yeah, it's overall, I think what these changes aim to do is just extend the laning phase, shorten long games, and make it more interactive rather than teams just dancing back and forth around the map, hoping to catch somebody out to get Baron. Now you actually have the ability to make proactive plays just around a minion wave. And I think it's going to make the game a lot more fun to spectate. And I'm not sure who's taken over fully for Ghostcrawler. I think it's Meddler.
Yeah, I think it was Meddler.
I honestly have to say, after looking at these changes, Meddler's doing a great job. Even if these don't work, I love the attempt he's made. And I think it's a very... Yeah. This is what the game needed. This is like all the changes that I'm thinking and all the aims of these changes is exactly what the game needed.
Okay. I'm still... From what we've seen ever since Ghostcrawler left, I'm very hesitant to say that the current Riot Balance team has the expertise to actually fit these changes to a good game.
That's fair. Balance team and game direction being two opposite departments.
Yeah. But like, I'm really unsure if the current team has the expertise to do the micro changes that this will need. I mean, there's guarantee. I guarantee you, this is not gonna be balanced when it like hits the field.
It shouldn't be. There's this needs testing, and I hope it's balanced, but I think it will become balanced before January. That's why they got a 2-month preseason here.
Yeah, but, I hope so too.
Yeah, it's just like I'm thinking about it, and the way it looks is there's really big benefits to playing both scaling champions and aggressive champions. Scaling champions, you don't lose your tower. You're given the time to scale. You get to 15 minutes regardless without having a massive deficit. And lane bully champions, you get the ability to get the bonus gold, and you've got a longer laning phase to try and capitalize on getting 2v2 kills. So I think it's definitely like great advantages either way. And I think the fact that there are those big advantages, people can play to both, will make the game that much more interactive and make it easier to balance around, because if you nerf an early game champion, you're nerfing their ability to get 2v2 kills. If you're buffing a late game champion, you're buffing their scaling. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's everything we needed to say today. Was a good podcast. See you around.